everyone, so for today's video I wanted to go over the seeds that I already have for next year's garden. Now I like to tell myself that I have all the seeds I'm going to grow, but I know that's not true. I know I'm still going to order some more or pick some up from the garden centers when I'm out and about, most likely next spring, but I do have the majority of the seeds that I'm going to be growing. And I like to get my seeds early. I know I put in 2 rounds of orders, and I think one was August and one was September. And by that time, that's kind of when my garden is at its peak. And I know which plants I really loved and definitely want to have for next year. I also know, maybe I want to try out some new varieties of the plants that I already love. Or, I just happen to be walking by other people's gardens and I'm like, I need that in my garden also. So I will say that 90% of what I'm going to be growing is right now next to me. This doesn't include things like starts, because I do get starts, especially for like fruits and veg where I'm only going to be growing like 1 plant. I'd rather get that as a start instead of starting just 1 from seed. Now first, let me show you how I'm storing my seeds. So I currently have them in this old toolbox, and I actually just got this toolbox about a month or 2 ago from a thrift store. Up until that point, I've been storing my seeds just in a closet in cardboard boxes. So I would just take the cardboard boxes that the seeds were sent in and then just shove all the seeds that I got into those cardboard boxes. But I decided to actually invest in something that might be a little bit prettier to look at. So again, I like things that can function but are also pretty, and I also like really old things, which includes this really old rusty toolbox that I got from an antique store. So I went in there, I found this, and I also found a couple old buckets. Now, an issue sometimes with old things is they don't necessarily work very well. One of the buckets I got had a leak, but I did fix that with super glue. This, when I would close it, didn't open at first. So I used some, I'm gonna get the letters wrong, the WD-40 to basically make it much easier to open the latch. So now it is a functioning toolbox. That way I'm not gonna lock all my seeds in here and have to pry it apart to access them. Now inside of the toolbox, I have these boxes, which I know a lot of people use to store their seeds. I think are they photo boxes? But they're just plastic boxes that I get on Amazon. I think I have 6 total that fit in here, so 3 on either side. They're not all full, so that does mean I have room to add more. But I've basically gone through and organized each of these boxes in a way that makes sense to me. So I will go through and talk about everything that I have, and I will throw images up on the screen because obviously just looking at the seeds, most of my seed packets don't have images on them. So the majority of my seeds are from Johnny's Seed, which, let me just show you, has an incredible amount of information on the seed packet, but there's no photo of the actual flower on either side, which I don't mind. I mean, sometimes it is nice to be able to look at a photo and remember what it looks like, but most of these flowers and varieties I'm familiar enough with where not having a photo doesn't bother me. So like I said, I'll go through each of these boxes, put some images up on the screen. That way you can see what these look like. And if you want to purchase any, I will link them all down below. At least the ones that I know I have links to. Some of these are a little bit older and I think I just got them in garden centers, but I'll at least list off the name or the brand name and the seed type as well down below. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you've been following me for a little bit, I think you will know that I have a love of zinnias and Gompphrenas, and that's just because they work so well for me in my garden. I mean, zinnias produce like crazy, so for somebody that doesn't have a lot of space, that is fantastic. Gomphrena, similar, puts out a lot, and I also love to dry it so much, so that I have as well. So what I've been really finding myself doing over these last few years is figuring out the type of plants that I really like, and then just trying more and more varieties of those plants. So let's first start off with the zinnias that I plan to grow next year. So first up is Queen Lime with Blush. So I grew Queen Lime Orange this year in the center raised bed. I knew that everyone always loved the Queen Lime Zinnia series. They look beautiful in photos online, but this was the first year that I've ever grown it, and just like everyone else, I am now obsessed. So I have some seeds left over of the orange, and then I got the Queen Lime Blush, like I mentioned, and I also got Queen Lime Red. So I'm excited to add those to the garden. I'm almost thinking I might do all of the queen lime in the center raised bed this year, but just with different colors. I think that would look really pretty. Next up, I have a few different packs of the Bethany giant zinnias. Now, I first started growing these 2 years ago, and I got just the giant zinnia mix, which I still have seeds from last year here. So the mix is basically just a mix of different colors, which I think is really fun, kind of just starting off with something new to kind of see the variety. I also like having a bunch of different colors in like one larger container. So I really liked trying this out first and then kind of seeing what colors I liked more than the others. The downside is obviously you don't know when you're planting a seed which color plant it's going to be. So I think the first year I didn't have any white zinnias and I didn't have any of the wine colored flowers either. And I got both of those this year. And I loved the wine color so much that I got a whole packet of them. So I do have in my head a vision of a couple raised beds. I think some of the new ones I'm gonna put out back that have a lot of like this wine color, light purple, light peach, and dark pinks throughout. I think that would be a really pretty combination. So the Bethany Giant wine is included in the Bethany Giant mix, but I want to make sure I know how many wine plants I'm growing and where I'm going to put them. Similar to the Giant Bethany, I also have Giant Dahlia flowered mix. I'm just looking at them, can't tell the difference, so I don't think you need both of them in your garden, but because I still have seeds left over from last year, I will be growing them again. And then I have some zinnia seeds from Park Seed. So I have 3 left here. I have Cinderella Purple, I have Cinderella Peach, which I grew this year and again fell in love with Cinderella, so let's add some more colors, and then Cinderella Red. So red, purple, and peach from the Cinderella collection. And I'm just really excited. I mean, I kind of can get carried away a little bit, again, also with not having a bunch of space in the garden, but when I find something I like, I want to try it in all of the options. I also do the same thing for clothes. Like if I find a shirt I really like, I'll buy it in like 5 different colors. Let me know if you're like that down below. So those are all the zinnias that I have. So let me see, that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different varieties of zinnias, which again might seem not a lot for people that have a much larger garden, but for me, I'm already like a little bit nervous of where I'm going to fit all of these. The next flower that I'm obsessed with is Gomphrena. So I have some varieties here that I've grown before and a couple new ones, and I'm probably gonna order even more than what I have right now. So first up is the QIS Carmine, which is a beautiful fuchsia color, and that is what got my whole Gomphrena obsession started. So I'll have that again in the garden next year for sure. Then I have QIS Orange and QIS Pink, which both of those I grew this year. The orange is a nice orange color. The pink is very, very light pink, so just keep that in mind if you're looking for something more vibrant. The pink is incredibly light, but what might be a better fit is a new one that I'm trying, which is Raspberry Cream Gomphrena. So I think the Raspberry Cream, at least again from the images, is what I thought I would have more of with the pink. The pink was just really light, but the photos when I bought the pink were also really light, so I should have known that. And then the other new one I have is Audrey Purple Red. So the only seeds that I don't have of Gomphrena that I had last year are Strawberry Fields, which I got from Baker's Creek, and then QAS Purple. So I might go ahead and order some of those. I might tell myself, you have enough, you don't need any more. We'll kind of see how it goes throughout the rest of the year before we get into garden season next year. But I really want to try out all of the varieties of Gomphrena, all the colors, to know which ones I like the best. My next container, I think, is kind of a mishmash of flowers. So I don't know if there's going to be really any sort of organization, but starting off first here, I have Lady Coral Lavender Aster. So asters I have grown the last 2 years. In 2021, I wasn't really impressed, but that was my fault because I shoved just a couple seeds into the back of an already way too full bed. I don't think they got enough sun. They just didn't really have the space to develop. This year, I put them in with my aronia berry bush. They need their own space. Don't just shove them in with something that's already taking up a lot of space. They did much better, and I can't believe the amount of flowers that they put out. So that is why I went ahead and got a lot more aster seeds to grow for this year. And I think too, the pack I had was another mixed pack, so I didn't really know what colors I was gonna get. This time I went ahead and chose the colors that I wanted. So again, that's the Lady Coral Lavender Aster. Then I have the Bonita Shell Pink Aster. The King Size Apricot Aster. Really excited for these. I mean, I'm really excited for all of them, but those are the asters that I'm gonna be growing. Next, I have the Sunrich Summer Province sunflower. Now this was the single stem sunflowers that I grew in my lowest raised bed, lowest to the ground, and that I then turned into trellises for my peas. So my peas are still currently growing up of the sunflower stems. Then I have some straw flowers, and this is the Saltane mix. With the straw flowers, I didn't love where I put them this year, but I do love how they turned out. So I think I just need to put them maybe in their own containers on the ground instead of in a raised bed, because they were very tall and vertical and it just kind of looked odd in the taller containers. So I do love straw flowers. I am excited to grow them. I just think I need to put them in a different spot in my garden. But again, a great flower for drying. Then I have some Cosmos Cupcakes Blush. I'm only having one variety of Cosmos because I did grow it 2 years ago. I didn't love it, but again, I don't think I gave it the right environment or the best environment to grow. I think, again, I shoved it into a pot with a bunch of other stuff. So I really like this color. I'm gonna see how it goes this year, and if I love it, I'll get more varieties next year. Then I got one variety of Status, which is the QIS Apricot. Just again, I really love this color. I saw a garden answer video where I think she dried a bunch of it, and I love flowers that you can dry. So I'm gonna try some Status of my own. I've never done Status at all in my garden, so I'm excited to see kind of how it does. And then last in this box is Black Hollyhock. So this is actually from another gardener that I know on Instagram, Diane. I am really excited to try this out. I really love black flowers because I don't think it's something that you normally see in a garden or something that's used a lot. There was also a petunia that I had, maybe it was 3 years ago, that was a black petunia, and it was really pretty as well. But I do love hollyhock. I feel like I need to find a special place for this in the garden, or like a nice container for it, because it is something that can come back year after year. So I want to make sure it's in something pretty that has enough space to really make sure that I'm growing these the best that I can. So that's everything in this container. Again, that was just kind of my random container of flowers. Now this next box here just kind of has some random things that aren't even necessarily going in the garden. So here I have 4 packs of sweet alyssum, and the variety is Snow Crystals. So where I'm gonna put these is downstairs. Now with our house, the only outdoor space that you can really use or that's functional is the deck. That's why I garden on the decks, because the decks are the outdoors. We don't have a yard. But what we do have, so in front is like 1 row of cement, and then the gate, and then the sidewalk. And between the sidewalk and the cement is, I'd say maybe about 2-inch wide dirt that looks very poor quality dirt with a lot of rocks in it. And I was asking people, what are some seeds I can put there to like have little flowers growing? And Alyssum was recommended to me. So I'm gonna try sowing the Alyssum seeds in that little crack of dirt and see if I can just get like a whole line of pretty white flowers growing there. I did have Alyssum this year. I didn't start from seed. I just bought the starts at the store. I really like the look of it, so I think that would be really sweet if that hopefully works out the way I'm hoping. Then I have this packet of seeds that are from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. And they have this Monarch project where they sent out milkweed seeds to anybody that wanted some. So I'm planning to grow these in a separate pot up here in the garden, and then I want to get some of those like butterfly nets so that when I get the caterpillars, I can move them into the net and protect them from the wasps so they don't get eaten like they did this year. And then that way I can help raise some butterflies. So I think that'll be fun. Now in this box, I basically have either seeds I am planning to grow next year but are too large to fit in the plastic containers, so I'm not keeping them in the toolbox, or they're seeds that I don't personally plan to grow again in my garden, but I'm saving them to give away to people next year. So I think most of these I'm probably gonna put in that little free seed library that I painted in front of the school. That way anyone who wants it can take it, but I think it'll be better to do that in the spring when people are thinking about gardening than in the winter and leaving them there. But I will go through the ones that I plan to grow again in my garden. So this is called the Wild West Wildflower, or sorry, not the Wild West, the Midwest Wildflower Seed Mix from Eden Brothers. And I got this because what I want to do, again, to kind of help with the butterflies, is I want to turn one of my raised beds kind of into a native flower bed. So I have some coneflower in there right now. What else is growing in there? I think that might be the only thing that's considered a native flower. I'm going to keep that in there. I'm going to see if it comes back next year. And then I'm also just going to sow a bunch of these seeds into that raised bed. I'm a little bit nervous. Nervous and excited. Nervous because I have a feeling that if I do this, I will like never get the bed back if I ever want to take it back for something else. Like there's just going to be a bunch of native plants that get really comfortable in there. But on the other hand, if it works really well, I'm kind of excited to have that. I mean, how cool would it be if one of my beds is just a bunch of native perennials that come back year after year? I don't know, we'll kind of see how it goes. I'm kind of jumping into this blind with my fingers crossed and hoping that it works out. The other seeds I have in here that I do plan to grow next year. So I have my Whirl Snap 2 snap peas. These I've had for, I think, just 2 years now. Next year will be my 3rd year. They have the purple pods that grow on the vines. They're really pretty and they're really delicious. So I like having those, especially right now when there really isn't much else that's growing in the garden. So I think looking through here, that's everything in this box that I'm planning to grow again in my garden. Everything else is going to go to other gardeners in the area who are interested. Now, kind of looking at what I have, I would say before I sat down today, I was like, oh, I have way too much stuff. I'm never gonna fit it in my garden. But kind of going through that now, I mean, it's still a lot for the space that I have, but I'm also like, oh, I can definitely fit some more stuff in there. So I don't think it's as much as I thought. Again, there are still some varieties that I wanna get, for example, of the Gomphrena. I'll get a lot of my plants as starts next year, but I'm just really excited. I always like to start thinking about next year's garden kind of as soon as possible and get prepared as early as possible. I'm always afraid the seeds are gonna sell out if I don't get them. So that is my plan of what I'm gonna grow for next year. I'll kind of update you as things go on if I get some more seeds, but that is definitely the bulk of what I'm going to be planting. And I'm just really excited. I really like finding what works best for me and just getting more of that in my garden. So I'm really excited to try out some new varieties of my old favorites. Let me know what you're growing down below if you already have seeds for next year or if I'm just way too early on this. And then again, I'll link below everything, I think, hopefully, that I've mentioned in this video. So thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.